whole disaster movie. But here's the truth. Worrying never stopped the bill from coming heal the body or fix the relationship. It only drains you before anything even happens. It's like paying interest on a debt you don't owe yet. You are running mental marathons over things that haven't happened. You lose sleep, you skip meals, and you forget how to breathe. All because you are trying to manage a storm in your head that hasn't even touched down in real life. That's how worry steals your present while lying about your future. There's power in faith that worry can't touch. Faith says, I don't see it yet, but I still believe. Worry says, I need proof before I can have peace. You have to pick a side. Life will hit you either way, but your response decides your direction. Are you going to spiral or stand still and trust? Worry tricks you into believing you are being productive, like if you obsess long enough, you'll come up with a solution. But all you are doing is running in circles, getting tired, and still ending up in the same spot. That's not strength. That's survival mode on repeat. Do you know what faith looks like? It's when you apply for the job even though you feel underqualified. When you show up for the day even though you are mentally exhausted. When you make the call, say the prayer, and do the work without needing a guaranteed result first. That's bold. That's movement. Worry is always reactive. Faith is proactive. Worry waits for a problem and responds. Faith moves before the answer comes. And the more you choose faith over fear, the more you build spiritual muscle. It's not about being fearless, it's about doing it while you are scared, trusting God has the rest handled. So you've got a choice every morning. You can wake up and entertain all the what ifs, or you can step out on the even if. Even if it doesn't go how I planned, even if I don't see the full picture, even if I'm uncertain, I'm still moving because I trust something bigger is working behind the scenes. One of the hardest truths to swallow is this: you're not running the show. You plan your days, you organize your goals, and you try to control outcomes, but at the end of the day, things can flip in a second. You could do everything right and still watch it fall apart. Why? Because control is an illusion. The more you try to grip everything, the more things slip through your fingers. That's why you are exhausted. You weren't built to carry the weight of the world. You weren't created to solve every problem. You are a human, not a machine, and not God. Trying to control everything is just fear in disguise. You are afraid of letting go, afraid of the unknown, so you micromanage every detail, hoping that'll give you peace. But it doesn't. It just adds pressure. And pressure doesn't produce peace, it produces panic. You want peace? You have to learn how to surrender. Not just on Sunday, not just when things are smooth, but every day, even in chaos. You got to look at your life and say, I don't have all the answers and I'm okay with that. I trust the one who does. When you realize you are not in control, it's not defeat, it's freedom. It means you don't have to fix every situation, please every person, or understand every moment. You just have to stay grounded in what's real, do your part, and let God do his. The job you didn't get, the relationship that didn't work, the plan that fell apart, it all felt like rejection. But sometimes it's redirection. You don't see the full map. You are judging the whole picture by one broken piece. Let it go. You weren't made to drive blind. There's so much relief in saying, I don't know how this ends, but I trust who's writing it. You weren't built to control, you were built to trust. So stop tightening your grip on things that only God can hold. Let go. Let him drive. Anxiety inside, knock. It barges in. You'll be having a regular day, then boom, tight chest and mundos. Imaginary problems, but stacked up like real ones. And you feel frozen, like something's wrong, but you can't name what. That's anxiety doing what it does best, stealing. It'll have you believing that you are one mistake away from everything crashing down. It'll convince you that the worst case scenario is the most likely one. That's fear on a microphone broadcasting lies to your spirit, turning molehills into mountains. Have you ever lost sleep over something that didn't even happen? That's anxiety. You rehearse problems like they're part of your morning routine. You build mental blueprints for disasters that aren't even scheduled. You give energy to fear and call it preparation. But here's the truth. Most of the things you are anxious about aren't real. They're just mental shadows projected by a tired mind that forgot how to rest. You are running scenarios, not solutions. You are carrying weights you were never meant to pick up in the first place. Peace isn't just some spiritual fairy tale, it's a muscle. And you have to build it. That means learning how to breathe when your chest is tight. That means opening your mouth and saying, God, I don't feel okay, but I trust you anyway. That means shifting your focus off your fear back onto your faith. Anxiety grows in isolation. It loves silence. So you have got to fight back with truth. Speak it out loud. Remind yourself who's in control. Play that worship, call someone you trust. Get out of your head and back into your spirit. You have more power than you think. You are not weak because you feel anxious. You are not broken because you are overwhelmed. You are human. But that anxiety doesn't own you. It's not your identity. Reclaim your peace. Stop letting anxiety write your story when God has already finished the book. God's not loud when he's working. He's not broadcasting play-by-plays like a sports announcer. He moves in silence, quiet, steady, and intentional. But because we don't hear anything, we start assuming nothing's happening. That's where we mess up. We confuse silence with absence. But silence is often proof that something big is in motion behind the scenes. Have you ever planted a seed? When you drop it in the soil, nothing happens that you can see. Days go by, weeks even, and the surface looks the same, just dirt. But underneath that seed is shifting, cracking, building roots, making moves. You don't see the progress, but the process is happening. That's how God works. Quiet. Underground, but powerful. The problem is that we've been trained to associate movement with noise. We want signs, flashing lights, instant confirmation, but God doesn't operate on our need for drama. He doesn't need to prove to you that he's active. He knows what he's doing. He doesn't panic. He doesn't rush. He moves at the pace of purpose, not pressure. Panic is human. It's reactive. It says, I don't see it, so I fear it. Panic makes impulsive decisions. It settles for less, it self-sabotages. But God, he doesn't panic when you don't have answers. He doesn't panic when things look stuck. He's not pacing back and forth trying to figure out a solution. He is the solution. Some of the greatest breakthroughs come wrapped in silence. While you are crying, stressing, and doubting, God is working in the shadows, lining up favor, removing the wrong people, and preparing opportunities you didn't even ask for yet. But you are too focused on what you can't hear to realize what's being built. Faith requires patience in the quiet. It means trusting God's hand when you can't trace it. It means believing the promise even when it feels like heaven's on mute. You are not being ignored. You are being developed. You are not being delayed. You are being positioned. Silence isn't a punishment, it's preparation. You have got to stop measuring God's presence by noise. He's not like people. He doesn't need to shout to make moves. Sometimes the silence is a sign that the foundation is being laid. And when the time's right, when your heart's ready, when the pieces align, what was silent will suddenly speak loud through manifestation. But until then, trust the silence. That's where the real work happens. Have you ever finished praying and then immediately gone back to stressing about the same thing you just handed over to God? That's not praying, that's venting. Real prayer is a transfer. It's saying, God, I'm giving this to you and leaving it with him. However, too many of us pray with our mouths and worry with our minds. That's like handing someone your baggage and then chasing after them, trying them to carry it anyway. When you worry right after praying, what you are saying is, God, I trust you. But just in case you take too long, let me keep worrying about it. That's not faith, that's fear with the church outfit on. You are dressed in belief, but your actions are walking in doubt. You can't claim peace and rehearse panic. You have to pick one. Worry is loud. It drowns out the voice of faith. It makes you double check what God has already confirmed. You start overthinking, second guessing. And before you know it, the same thing you prayed about becomes the thing you obsess over. That's spiritual sabotage. You are short-circuiting your breakthrough because you won't let go. Prayer is power, but only if you leave what you dropped off. If you pray and then pick it back up, you are telling God, I don't think you got this. And that's not what you believe, is it? Deep down, you know God is bigger than your problem, stronger than your fear, and wiser than your plan. But you have to act like you believe that. Some of us use prayer like a fire alarm. We only pull it when everything's falling apart. But prayer isn't a panic button. It's a lifeline. It's access to divine wisdom, not just a wish list. And when you pray like really releasing something shifts in your spirit, the storm might still be raging, but you stop shaking. That's how you know the transfer was real. You can't control outcomes and surrender at the same time. You can't say, God, have your way, and then freak out when he doesn't follow your script. Faith is trusting him with the parts you don't understand. It's not blind hope, it's bold release. Saying, God, I don't get it, but I still give it to you. So if you are going to pray, then pray. But don't pray and then rehearse fear. Don't lift your hands and then lower your hope. Don't speak life and then walk in death. You can't pray and worry at the same time. One cancels out the other. Choose which voice you are going to follow and walk like you believe the one you picked. You are stressing about how things are going to work out, but heaven's not confused. The author has already finished the story. You are living in the middle of a chapter, crying over the plot twist, but God's holding the final pages in his hand and they don't end in failure. You keep asking, what if it doesn't happen? But what if it already did and you just haven't caught up to it yet? We panic in the process because we think the outcome is still undecided. We can mess it up so bad that God has to rewrite the whole plan. No, see, your mistakes were accounted for. Your delays were factored in. The detours, already mapped out. God doesn't erase your future when you fall off, he just reroutes it with grace. The plan was never fragile to begin with. Think about this, if God knows the end from the beginning, then that means he started with your victory and worked backward. He already saw you healed, saw you free, saw you restored, and then went back and gave you breath today to start moving toward it. So you might be panicking about step 5, but God is chilling at step 50 saying, I already handled this. You don't have to see how it'll all come together. You just need to take the next step with confidence that something greater is pulling you forward. That job, that breakthrough, that peace you have been chasing, it's not a shot in the dark, it's already scheduled. And God doesn't miss appointments. Most of the fear you feel is because you think the outcome is up to you. If you make the wrong decision, everything will collapse. But you are not that powerful. You don't control destiny, God does. Your role is to move in obedience, to take one faithful step at a time, even if you don't have the full picture. Have you ever watched a GPS recalculate after you make a wrong turn? It doesn't shut down. It doesn't get mad. It just reroutes you. That's how God works with your life. Wrong turns don't cancel your destination, they just shift your route. So stop panicking every time the road changes. The destination hasn't. You are not out here winging it. You are not lost. You are not forgotten. Your future is already written, sealed, and waiting. All you have to do is walk like it, pray like it, move like it, prepare for it. Not because you know the details, but because you trust the author who wrote the ending in your favor. We spend so much time trying to figure out the how. How's the money going to show up? How will the relationship be restored? How is this situation going to turn around? We run ourselves into mental exhaustion trying to map out a miracle, forgetting that the miracle was never our job in the first place. You are not the architect of the breakthrough, you are the vessel. The how is above your pay grade. The need to understand every step before moving is what keeps most people stuck. We delay action waiting on full instructions, but faith doesn't require a blueprint, it requires belief. You are looking for logic, but God operates on divine timing, not spreadsheets. You are trying to calculate something that can only be revealed through trust. That's why it feels like confusion, because it wasn't meant to make sense to your mind and only to your spirit. Letting go of the how doesn't mean you stop working or stop showing up. It means you stop carrying what you weren't assigned to carry. You do what you can, but you stop trying to play every role in the story. You aren't the writer, the director, and the lead all at once. Your job is to stay ready, stay available, and stay in position. The how will catch up with your obedience. Have you ever been in a situation where it looked impossible on paper, but somehow everything lined up anyway? That wasn't luck. That was alignment. That was the who showing up in the middle of the chaos and reminding you that his resources are bigger than your reason. When you stop idolizing the how, you make room for the supernatural to step in. You shift from anxiety to expectation. The real flex in faith is not needing to know the method, just knowing maker. That's grown person trust right there. That's when you can say, I don't know how this is going to play out, but I know who's walking with me. That's when you realize your peace never depended on your plans, it came from your source. And the source has never failed. Trying to solve what only heaven can orchestrate will leave you orchestrate every time. You'll start trying to force things that aren't ready, rush things that need time, and control things that were never yours to begin with. Letting go of the how isn't passive, it's powerful. It says, I trust you enough to stop micromanaging what only you can manage. When you start focusing more on who's in control instead of how it come together, something changes. The weight lifts. The fear loses its grip. The questions quiet down. You move differently not because you figured it all out, but because you finally accepted you don't have to. You were never called to be the solution, only to trust the source who already has one. Do you think your best ideas are big? God's plan for you makes your imagination look like a warm-up. You have been aiming for comfort. He's aiming for transformation. You are trying to survive, and he's to elevate you to something you can't even fully picture yet. You keep asking him for the next step, but if he showed you the whole thing, it would scare you. That's how massive it is. That's how deep his strategy runs. See, you're playing checkers on a board where God is playing multi-dimensional chess. He's 10 moves ahead of everything that's confusing you right now. You think that closed door was a loss. He sees it as protection. You are hurt over the delay. He's setting up a divine connection you don't even know you need yet. His plan isn't about just getting you what you want. It's about molding you into who you are called to be. But you have got to be careful not to downsize your expectations to fit your current situation. Just because life feels tight doesn't mean the vision has shrunk. God will sometimes allow the room to get small so you learn how to stretch your faith, not shrink your belief. That tension you feel isn't punishment, it's preparation. You are being stretched for the size of the blessing that's coming. You are asking God to show up in ways that make sense to you, but his plan doesn't fit in your logic box. That's why some things are taking longer than you thought. What you are praying for and what he's preparing you for are on two different levels. You want a breakthrough that fits into your comfort zone. He's planning a shift that's going to change everything about how you move, think, and operate. God's plan doesn't just bless you, it redefines you. It upgrades your circle, your mindset, your discipline, and your confidence. That's why the process is stretching you, is building a version of you that can carry what's coming. If he gave it to you now, the weight of it might crush you. But he's not just planning to bless you, he's building you to handle the blessing. And when it shows up, it's going to make everything make sense. The pain, the waiting, the loss, the confusion, it's all going to align like puzzle pieces you didn't even know were connected. He's setting you up for something so strategic, so powerful, and silence every doubt you have ever had. But you have got to stay in the game long enough to see it happen. This plan isn't small. It's not safe. It's not something you can control. That's why it feels uncomfortable. That's why it's stretching your patience and forcing your faith to level up. But trust when God reveals the full picture, it's going to be bigger than your resume, louder than your insecurities, and better than anything you were trying to for you have been in a storm before. It hits unexpectedly, no warning, and suddenly you are soaked, overwhelmed, and feeling like the rain will never stop. But here's the truth, the storm is temporary. It's the season, not the destination. And just because it's loud doesn't mean it's permanent. Don't let a temporary struggle convince you that God's promises aren't real. The storm may look fierce, but it's not a reflection of your future. It's just a bump in the road. The problem is when you are in the middle of a storm, everything feels like it's falling apart. You are looking at the chaos around you, and it seems like it's consuming everything you have worked for. It feels like the waves are so high, you'll never see the shore again. But here's the key, you've got to learn how to look through the storm and see the promise on the other side. God didn't promise you a life without storms, but he did promise you peace in the middle of them. Storms can't drown what God has already declared over your life. The promise doesn't change because the weather does. What he spoke over you will still come to pass, even if it feels like the world is spinning in the opposite direction. The storm isn't the final word on your situation. It's the noise before the breakthrough. It's the test before the testimony. We often forget that the greatest victories are birthed in the greatest battles. You are being shaped, refined, and developed in the storm. God's not surprised by the rain. He's using it to create the conditions for something new to grow in you. If everything stayed calm, you'd never know how strong your faith is. If the winds didn't blow, you wouldn't realize the power and the anchor of God's promises. When the storm hits, your mind tries to convince you that it's the end. The pressure feels like it's going to swallow you whole, but it's only temporary. And just like every storm, it eventually passes. The waters are calm. The skies are clear. And when they do, you'll be standing there stronger than before, still holding on to the promises God spoke over you. That storm was just passing through. You can't let what's temporary take your eyes off what's eternal. The enemy loves to use the storm to make you question God's faithfulness, but you have got to hold tight to the truth. God's word doesn't change because your circumstances do. His promises are permanent, even when the storm is moving through. The rain might be loud, but the promise is louder. The storm may be real, but so are the promises. And when it's over, you'll realize that nothing, not even the strongest, could wash away what God said is yours. So keep moving. Keep standing. Don't let the noise of the storm drown out the voice of the promise waiting on the other side. God's got you. He's already made a way through it. How many times have you found yourself asking, when, God? When will it happen? When will things change? You have been staring at the clock, checking the calendar, waiting for the exact moment when everything shifts. But here's the thing, your breakthrough is already in progress. The moment you start saying thank you instead of when, you shift from a place of lack to a place of abundance. You are not waiting for something new to arrive. You are aligning yourself with what's already on the way. The more you ask when, the more you focus on what's not here yet. But gratitude has the power to change your focus. When you start thanking God for what's coming, what's in motion, what you already have, your mindset shifts from scarcity to expectancy. Thank you says, I trust you, I believe in your timing, and I'm grateful for what's unfolding, even if I can't see it yet. When you say when, you are still in control. You are trying to dictate the timeline. But when you shift to thank you, you are releasing control and trusting that the process is perfect. God's timing doesn't operate on your watch. What he's doing in your life isn't on your schedule, it's on his. And his timing is always right, even when it feels slow. When you shift your focus, you are telling God, I trust that you know the best time for me, even if I don't understand it. Think about it. God's been answering your prayers since you first spoke them. The answer might not have looked like what you expected, but that doesn't mean he's not working. When you focus on gratitude, you open your eyes to the ways he's already moving. Maybe it's not the job you wanted yet, but look at the connections he's putting in place. Maybe the relationship isn't where you thought it should be, but look at the healing and growth happening within you. The power of gratitude is transformative. When you say thank you, you are aligning yourself with faith instead of fear. You stop wondering when the next breakthrough will come and start seeing how far you have already come. That job you are waiting for, thank you for the provision that's already on the way. That relationship, thank you for the lessons you're teaching me right now. The health you have been praying for, thank you for the strength that is already growing within me. It's easy to focus on the lack. It's easy to focus on what hasn't happened yet. But true faith is in thanking God for the things you haven't seen yet because you believe in the promise. Your words are powerful. Saying thank you instead of one releases a confidence that allows you to step into your future with expectation instead of frustration. Your thank you is an act of faith. It's you saying, I believe you, even when I don't have all the answers. Gratitude changes the game. It shifts your entire perspective. Stop waiting for the right moment to thank God and start thanking Him right now. Your heart and mind will be open to the blessings already flowing towards you. The moment you stop asking when is the moment you start living in the promise. You are not waiting for your future. You are thanking God for it, knowing that it's already on its way. You have been up all night, tossing and turning, trying to solve the problem that keeps you awake. Your mind's racing. You are replaying every scenario, and nothing feels like it's moving forward. But here's the thing, you have already done everything you can. You have prayed, you have planned, and you have put in the work. Now it's time to give it to God and let Him handle the rest. You can't control every outcome, but you can control your peace. And peace comes when you surrender the weight of the world and trust that He's already got it covered. When you hold on to your problems, you are saying, I don't trust God enough to let go. But when you give it to Him, you are saying, I believe you have got this. I believe your plan is greater than my word. God doesn't need you to stay up all night fretting. He needs you to rest in His power, knowing that He is working behind the scenes while you sleep. The world doesn't need your constant control. It needs your faith in His ability to make things happen. Some of us think that if we're not stressing about something, we're not caring enough. We've been conditioned to believe that worrying is a sign of responsibility, but all worry does is steal your peace and rob you of the energy you need for the next day. Giving it to God doesn't mean you are giving up. It means you are trusting that there's someone bigger than you who's got everything in hand. Rest isn't a sign of weakness, it's a declaration of faith. You are not supposed to carry everything on your own. That burden wasn't meant for you to bear. God designed you for a purpose, not for constant stress. He's already promised to be your provider, your protector, and your guide. You are carrying things that aren't yours to carry, and it's weighing you down. So the next time you find yourself staying up at night thinking about every worst-case scenario, remember you can give it to God and then go to sleep in peace. He's not asleep. He's working while you rest. When you finally release it and give it to God, the weight lifts. You no longer have to carry the anxiety, the stress, or the fear. You can close your eyes and trust that the Creator of the universe has it all under control. He's handling things on your behalf in ways you can't even see. You may not know how, when, or where it will work out, but you know who is making it happen, and that's all you need to know. Peace comes when you stop trying to fix everything. You have to understand that your efforts are limited, but God's power is limitless. You are not built to handle every outcome. You are built to trust the one who holds the future. So when you give it to God, let go of the constant need to figure it out yourself. You are not in control of the timing, but you are in control of your faith. Let your rest be a testimony that you believe God is working things out for your good. Don't let the burden of worry keep you awake any longer. Give it to God and let Him handle what you can. When you release your concerns into His hands, you'll find that peace that surpasses understanding. Trust that He's got this. And then do yourself a favor, go to sleep, rest your mind, and wake up ready for the new day. He's already prepared for you. He's got it, and you can rest easy knowing that. You have got a plan. You have got a schedule. You have been working hard, doing everything right, and following all the steps. And yet your miracle hasn't shown up on your timeline. That's frustrating, right? But let me remind you, your miracle is not bound by your watch. God's plan doesn't follow your deadlines. What you think should happen on your timeline isn't how it works in the kingdom of God. His timing is not yours, and that's something you need to get comfortable with. The problem is we're conditioned to expect everything right now. We want it now, we want it fast, and we're measuring success by how quickly it arrives. But just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not coming. The greatest things take time. The most powerful breakthroughs don't rush. They're like seeds that need time to grow, develop, and mature. Your miracle isn't in a rush to meet your timeline. It's in the process of being perfected in God's. The delay isn't denial. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not being worked out. God isn't trying to disappoint you. He's positioning you. He's preparing the right people, the right environment, and the right timing. What you are waiting on isn't just about you. It's about all the pieces that need to fall into place to make it bigger, better, and more impactful than you could have ever imagined. And guess what? That takes time. When you rush the process, you might miss the purpose. That miracle you are asking for is bigger than just the outcome. It's about the person you are becoming along the way. The waiting, the patience, the struggles, the delays, they're all part of building you into who you need to be to handle the blessing. God doesn't want to give you something you can't care or manage. He's preparing you for what's ahead. So every delay is just a step in your preparation. You might be thinking, but why not now? Why does it feel like everyone else is moving forward and I'm stuck? Well, sometimes it's the moments of stillness that are the most important. You are not stuck. You are being refined. Your miracle isn't a product of your timeline. It's a result of God's perfect plan. And He doesn't rush His plan. He allows it to unfold exactly as it needs to. Understand that your timeline and God's are on two different clocks. You are looking at your life as if everything should happen today. But He's orchestrated something much grander than you realize. He's preparing not just for you, but for everyone your blessing will impact. What He has for you is big, and He's taking the time to make sure it's right. Your timing isn't the issue, you're trusting His timing is. So stop worrying about the clock. Stop stressing over the when. Your miracle isn't late, it's in perfect alignment with what's coming. Keep showing up, keep moving, and keep trusting that God knows exactly when and how to release it. It's coming. It's just not on your timeline, and thank God for that, because if it were, you wouldn't be ready for what's on the other side. So many of us spend our time trying to control everything, how things turn out, how people behave, how every situation plays out. We think that if we just manage enough, everything will fall into place the way we want it. But here's the truth, there's only so much you can control. And once you accept that, you'll realize how freeing it is to let go of the rest. Control what you can and release what you can't. That's the key to peace and progress. The things you can control are simply your attitude, your actions, and your effort. You control how you show up every day. You control whether you push through when it's hard. You control your mindset, your response to challenges, and your belief in the process. But you don't control other people's choices. You don't control the outcome of every situation. And you certainly don't control time. So why waste energy on things outside your control? Focus on what you can impact right now. We get ourselves tangled in stress and frustration because we try to hold on to everything. We try to manipulate the results, force things into existence, and push against things that aren't ready to move. When you keep holding on to things you have no power over, you are wasting your energy and your peace. It's like holding onto a rope that's slipping through your hands. It just creates more tension. But when you let go of what you can't control, the pressure eases. You free up space for what you can do, which is to show up, trust the process, and keep moving forward. Releasing control doesn't mean giving up or stepping back from your responsibilities. It means recognizing where your effort is best spent. There's a difference between trying to force things to happen and doing the necessary work while trusting that the universe or God is handling the rest. Sometimes your biggest task is to let go of the outcome and trust that things will unfold the way they're meant to. You do what you can and you trust God to do what you can't. And that's where the real peace lies. There's freedom in letting go. When you stop trying to control everything, you create room for God to move. You allow space for your blessings to come in without the clutter of stress and worry. Too often, we're so busy trying to control the uncontrollable that we miss what's already on its way to us. It's like trying to fill a glass that's already full. But when you let go of unnecessary control, you make room for what truly matters. The beauty of releasing control is that it opens you up to greater opportunities. You stop obsessing over every little detail and start seeing things from a broader perspective. You realize that there's so much more happening around you than what you have been focusing on. When you let go of what you can't control, you stop limiting yourself to just what's in your hands. Instead, you make space for things that are far greater than what you could have planned. Control what you can, your decisions, your effort, your focus, and let the rest unfold as it's meant to. The more you try to force things, the more exhausted you'll become. Let go, trust the process, and have faith that what's meant for you will come at the right time in the right way. Your peace and growth are on the other side of surrender. When you learn to release what's out of your hands, you'll be surprised at how much more you can accomplish with what you control. You have been waiting, praying, working, and believing. You have seen others around you getting their breakthroughs, and it feels like your turn should have come by now. You are asking, why the delay, God? What's going on? Is something wrong with my prayers? But let me tell you, God's delay is not a shutdown, it's a setup. It's not a sign that you have been forgotten or that your prayers are unanswered. It's a sign that God is working behind the scenes to create the perfect conditions for your blessing to hit differently. When God delays your breakthrough, it's not because He's ignoring you or keeping something good from you. It's because He's aligning everything in the right place. You think you are ready, but God knows that there's still some refining, some preparation, some final pieces to be set into motion before you are ready for the full blessing. So instead of panicking about the delay, start seeing it as a divine setup. The best things take time, or what's coming for you is too big to rush. The delay doesn't mean that the door is closed. It means God's working on the other side of it. Sometimes we don't realize that what we think is a setback is a setup for something better than we imagined. God's timing isn't always our timing, but it's always perfect. He sees what's coming. He sees the obstacles we can't yet see, and He's setting us up to bypass them when the time is right. Trust that the delay is not a roadblock. It's a detour to something better. God's delays also give us the strength, the patience, and character needed for what's ahead. If He gave you the breakthrough too soon, you wouldn't be ready for the weight of it. You might miss the lessons, the growth, and the resilience that come from waiting. Sometimes the process of waiting is just as important as the reward itself. It's in the waiting that you discover who you are, what you are made of, and what you are truly capable of. When you feel like the delay is taking too long, remind yourself that God is not doing anything. He's setting things up in the background that you can't see. He's connecting the right people, arranging the right circumstances, and positioning you for maximum impact. So stop focusing on the time it's taking and start focusing on the fact that God is doing a work you can't even work. You'll understand the reason for the delay when you see the blessing unfold. The longer the delay, the greater the blessing. It's not a shutdown, it's preparation for something extraordinary. God doesn't just give you any blessing, He gives you the blessing that aligns with His will for your life, the one that will bring you peace, fulfillment, and purpose. And sometimes that requires more time to get everything in place. The bigger the promise, the more time it takes to prepare you and everything around you for its arrival. So when the delay feels long and the wait feels heavy, remember that God's delay is a setup. He's not punishing you. He's positioning you for a breakthrough that will be bigger and better than anything you could have rushed into. Don't let frustration take your focus off the fact that God is working in ways you can't see yet. Trust the process, trust the timing, and trust that when the time comes, everything will fall in place perfectly. We have all been there standing at the edge, looking out into the unknown, not having a clear path or an exact plan, and wondering, am I doing the right thing? But that's where faith comes in. Faith isn't just about knowing what's ahead, it's about moving forward even when you are unsure. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't need to know every step. But you do need the courage to take the first step. Faith is about trusting in God's ability to lead you even when you can't see where you are going. The moment you wait until everything is clear, you might never move. If you need certainty before you act, you'll be paralyzed by fear and doubt. That's not faith. Faith is stepping out even when there's no clear path in front of you. It's choosing to trust God's provision, His direction, and His timing. Sometimes the most important thing you can do is take the first step, even when the full picture hasn't unfolded yet. The miracle happens when you move, not when you wait for everything to make sense. You can't let uncertainty stop you from progressing. If you wait for things to feel comfortable, you'll be stuck forever. God doesn't always give us the entire roadmap. He asks us to trust Him with the journey. When you step out in faith, you activate the power of trust. You don't have to be confident about every little detail. You just have to be confident in the fact that God's got you. And He's leading you in the right direction. Faith requires action. It's not enough to believe in the dream or the vision. You have got to move toward it. Even when everything feels uncertain, even when your mind is telling you to hold back, faith is about pushing forward anyway. It's not the lack of fear that defines faith, it's moving despite it. It's understanding that you might not have all the pieces right now, but you trust that God will guide you along the way. You have got to start before you have all the answers. The answers will come once you move. You might feel unsure, you might feel unprepared, but that's where God's power works best. It's in those moments when you feel weakest that His strength shines through. You might not know the outcome, but you know that God is faithful. You have seen His hand in your life before, and you know that when He leads you somewhere, He won't leave you hanging. So stop waiting for certainty and take action with the faith you have, even if it's just a little bit. Faith doesn't require perfection, it requires movement. When you take the first step, God starts aligning everything around you. It's when you step out that He opens doors you didn't see before. When you're unsure, that's when He's asking you to lean in even harder. He's asking you to move with Him, to trust Him enough to take the next step, even when you can't see where it's going. When you step out in faith, He provides what you need along the way: strength, clarity, and courage. But none of that comes until you take action. You'll never see the full picture of what God's doing until you move. Faith isn't about waiting for everything to be clear. It's about trusting that God is clear. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to trust Him enough to move, knowing that He'll show you the next step once you take the first one. Faith is the courage to go forward, even when you don't have all the answers. And the best part, every step you take in faith brings you closer to the life God has for you. How many times have you found yourself trying to figure out every detail? You spend hours, days, maybe even weeks analyzing the situation, trying to predict every possible outcome. You map out every scenario, calculating risks, benefits, and the best course of action. And yet, no matter how much you plan, something always seems to come out of left field. That's because you can't outthink God. His plan is bigger, more intricate, and more powerful than any strategy you can come up with. So stop trying to figure it all out. Stop wrestling with the unknown. God is already ahead of you, working it all out in ways you can't even imagine. We're wired to plan, to prepare, and to have a sense of control. But the truth is, your intellect, your education, your experience, they can't outsmart God's timing. No matter how much you try to analyze, predict, or strategize, his plan will always exceed your understanding. He sees the bigger picture, the angles you can't even fathom, and he's already working it all together for your good. When you try to outthink God, you are essentially saying, I know better than you. Let me tell you, that's a trap. There's no way you are going to outmaneuver the creator of the universe. When you let go of trying to figure everything out on your own, you give God the room to work. There's freedom in trusting that he's got it all under control. You don't have to know every answer. You don't have to have a perfect plan. The only thing you need to do is trust his guidance and his timing. When you stop trying to outthink God, you allow him to move in your life in a way that's beyond your ability to comprehend. You don't have to know the whole story, just trust that he's writing it. And it's good. Your attempts to outthink God only create unnecessary stress. You'll drive yourself crazy trying to figure out things that aren't meant for you to figure out. Some things aren't for you to understand right now. Some answers will only come in time, and the waiting is part of the process. God is working in ways you can't see, and the sooner you accept that, the sooner you'll experience peace. Your mind can only take you so far. It's time to let your faith take the lead. There's no formula, no equation, no plan that's going to outsmart God's will for your life. The more you try to control the situation, the more frustrated you'll become. It's time to release the need to have everything figured out and trust that God's got a plan. His plan is perfect and his timing is flawless. No matter how much you try to calculate or overthink, he's already got the right path laid out for you. Trust the process, trust his direction, and let go of the need to outthink him. You can plan, you can prepare, but in the end, you have got to trust that God knows what he's doing. He doesn't need your strategy. He doesn't need your perfect plan. He's already got everything set in motion. What you need to do is show up with faith, ready to walk in the direction he's leading you, even when it doesn't make sense to your limited understanding. You'll never outthink God, but you can certainly trust him with your life. And that's where the peace comes in, when you stop trying to figure it all out and start trusting that he's got it all under control. The more you try to figure out every detail, the more you are taking things into your own hands. But you have got to surrender. You have got to release the pressure of figuring it all out. God